Oh, you just joined?
Okay, yay.
Good, that's 7.
Are you ready? Sure. Okay, we'll call the meeting of the Regional Planning Commission to order. Could we have a roll call, please?
Certainly can. Scott Carey. Present. Kate Nelson, absent for now. Kyle West.
Here.
Francine Donchik.
Present.
Mark Johnson.
Here.
Peter Gower.
Here.
Sarah Chivilicek.
Here.
Sylvia Villanueva, also absent. And Shelley Reed.
Here.
All right, we have a quorum.
Thank you. Commissioner Carey, would you lead us in the pledge, please?
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Item 3, approval of the agenda.
Madam Chair, I make a motion, this is Commissioner Dodge, I make a motion to approve.
Commissioner Johnson, I'll second.
Thank you. Any discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? No. Now we have Sylvia with us. Okay. Welcome, Sylvia.
Thank you.
Item 4, public comment. Do we have any public comment?
We have received no public comment for this item. Unless Chris wants to say something.
Thank you. Item 5, approval of the minutes from the November 21st, 2022 Regional Planning Commission meeting.
Madam Chair, this is Commissioner Dodge, I make a motion to approve.
And I think Commissioner West is going to second that
And I'll
one.
second that,
Okay.
yes.
Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Thank you. And we're now at business of the day, item A.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Jeremy Smith for the record. The first item, 6A, is public hearing item. It's the conformance review for the 2021-2040 Regional Water Management Plan. We have Chris Tolley to take us through.
Good evening, Commissioners. Chris Tolley, TMRPA. As introduced, this case is a conformance review of the 2021-2040 Regional Water Management Plan, and that's case number CR 22-014. The Regional Water Management Plan, or RWMP, is a comprehensive planning, municipal, and industrial planning document regarding municipal and industrial water supply, water quality, sanitary, sewage treatment, effluent, stormwater drainage, and flood control prepared in accordance with the Regional Water Commission Act located in Chapter 531 of the Statutes of Nevada. The act required the Western Regional Water Commission, or WRWC, to adopt the initial comprehensive water plan, and the plan is required to be reviewed every 5 years at a minimum for potential updates by the Northern Nevada Water Planning Commission. This iteration of the RWMP is an update of the previous version. And finally, Team RPA staff recommends that the 2021-2040 RWMP conforms to the 2019 Truckee Meadows Regional Plan. To continue with the overview, two of the primary changes in the document are the renumbering of the policies, which are found in Chapter 1, and the creation of 2 new chapters. Previously, Chapter 4 had been there was a Chapter 4 which has been separated into 2 chapters regarding wastewater and regional effluent management, and then also stormwater and watershed-based water quality planning. Additionally, this iteration of the RWMP has incorporated the scheduled additions from the 2016-2035 RWMP conformance review case, and that was case number CR 20-005, conducted in April of 2020. The requested scheduled addition sought to include language acknowledging the 2019 Truckee Meadows Regional Plan policies RF3, PF1, and PF2. The references were included in the RWMP policies deemed appropriate by the WRWC staff, as well as in coordination with regional planning staff. And then finally, the WRWC has indicated that the forthcoming RWMP is anticipated to present a more substantive update to the document. So on to the review criteria. As typically is the case, the RPC is required to review each jurisdiction's master plan and affected entities plan and amendment thereto for conformance with the 2019 regional plan. Policy RC9, shown on the slide, identifies the 5 factors the RPC must consider when evaluating conformance of a master plan, facilities plan, or similar plan. We'll address those 5 sections on the following slides.
Madam Chair, I hate to interrupt, but I can't see the slides.
We're fixing that right now. Thank you, Commissioner. Can you see those now? Perfect.
Yes, thank you.
Thank
It's a
you.
good time to join the visual part of it. The regional planning policy matrix on the right-hand side of the screen was included with the staff report to provide information about staff's conformance review process for the RWMP. And if need be, we can come back to this as well. So then getting to the actual review criteria for section population growth, policy PG3, use of the consensus forecast for planning, is a primary policy from this section that applies to the RWMP. The RWMP Chapter 7 identifies how the consensus forecast is used as a basis for estimating the future needs of the planning area, with an emphasis on the Truckee Meadows service area for water demand and wastewater flow projections. The CF, the consensus forecast, and sustainable water resources are reviewed to ensure identified sustainable water resources are available to serve the forecasted population growth during each CF update cycle. This process was undertaken and finalized most recently in the current 2022 calendar year with the adoption of the 2022 consensus forecasts. The 2018 Truckee Meadows Regional Plan and RWMP are connected and consistent in the application of the primary initiatives regarding population growth. Regarding regional forum, the RWMP addresses subjects that are central to the regional plan, including supporting regional objectives for existing and proposed development, and the overall implementation of the regional plan. RWMP Policy 1.1.1.1, geographic use of the Truckee River water, has a clear link to this section in supporting decisions regarding water that do not impair demands associated with regional plan policies RF3, PF1, and PF2. From a higher level view, the RWMP supports policies related to regional forum from within the perspective of the Truckee Meadows service area, where public services and infrastructure are anticipated to be provided, versus the rural area, where you would find dispersed residential, employment, and other uses. Regarding public facilities and services, the RWMP addresses subjects that are central to the public facilities services section, including water, wastewater, effluent, stormwater, and flood management. Additional subjects such as water conservation and efficient use of water are indirectly related to this section. Policies PF6 and PF7, in addition to PF1, present the primary policies that apply to the RWMP for conformance review purposes. These are addressed by a suite of policies in the RWMP. These policies support and reinforce the concepts of the regional plan from the public facilities and services perspective, including the TMSA and the RA, or the rural area, and the standards established in policy PF1. Regarding natural resources, many of the RWMP's policies and narrative portion address subjects of importance, both directly and indirectly, to the 2019 regional plan, including sustainability, resiliency, protection and enhancement of water resources, water quality, effluent reuse, and others. Most of the natural resources section in the regional plan does not apply directly to the RWMP. However, policy NR12 encapsulates many of the natural resources section's objectives as they relate specifically to water. Additionally, policy NR13 works to require local government master plans to include management strategies for development that will affect major streams, drainages, and the Truckee River and its tributaries. As with the PF section of the regional plan, the NR policies are addressed by a suite of policies from the RWMP. And then on to the final section, regional coordination. Staff found no specific policies for this review with the exception of the overarching RC9. That said, the WRWC and TMRPA have a long-standing history of coordination. as is exemplified through multiple efforts, including the Washoe County Consensus Forecast and the Sustainable Water Resources, GIS analysis, including but not limited to wastewater estimates and the water demand model. And then currently, WRWC and Team RPA are utilizing a shared work program to enhance technical and geographic capabilities and to enable collaboration to support the RWMP and associated projects. So in conclusion, staff is recommending that the 2021-2040 Regional Water Management Plan conforms with the applicable policies found in the regional plan. And that does. Proposed motion is on the screen or on page 29 of your meeting packet. This does conclude my presentation. However, Team RPA and WRWC staff are available for any questions. Thank you.
Thank you. This is a public hearing item. Do we have any public comment?
We have received none for this item.
Okay. Commissioners, I'll close public comment and bring it back to the commissioners. Do any commissioners have any questions of TMRPA staff or water resource staff? Then we'll entertain a motion.
Commissioner, excuse me, Madam Chair, I was trying to allow others to speak. I do have a couple questions.
Go ahead.
Thank you. For the population growth component, I'm just scrolling to that right now. What is the forecasted population growth under the consensus forecast?
Madam Chair, this is Jeremy Smith for the record. It's over the 20-year period, around 102,000 new residents in Washoe County. So by 2042, I think it comes out to about 589, 590.
What's the percentage per year?
It starts out a little bit over 1% and tapers off to kind of a plateau towards the end years based on the input data. So it's a little faster initially, about 1 to 1.5% growth. Then it goes to below 1.
Okay, so is that on track with what previous growth rates were anticipated?
Yeah, it's very similar to what we've been seeing. It's slightly higher. It's probably on the order of 2 to 3% higher than the consensus forecast we did in 2020. And basically, they do kind of tend to vary every 2 years. There's a different outlook based on what's been happening, and it has been slightly, going back up. But it's really in line with what we expected 2 years ago and even 2 years before that.
Is that also in line with what the U.S. Census, the 2020 census anticipated?
Well, the 2020 census count is very close to the governor's certified estimate. We typically use the state of Nevada governor's certified estimate as the starting point because it's available every year, and the decennial census count is a 10-year product. The census count was slightly higher by a couple thousand, but within a margin of error that is definitely acceptable.
So if the plan, how does the plan address like a growth that's not anticipated, or that, say, for example, we do experience a higher growth than expected, the consensus forecast, what happens in that case? Like, does the plan get amended? What types of actions are taken?
Well, that's a great, in terms of the regional water management plan being amended?
Yes, regional water management plan.
Every 2 years, we do that consensus forecast process, and that culminates in the acceptance of the forecast or approval by this body. And then we take it in October, typically, to the RPGB as a regional plan amendment. So we actually update the forecast in the regional plan, and then the other plans kind of play off of what's in that regional plan. I don't know the degree to which I don't think the regional water management plan has historically been updated every 2 years, but every time it comes around for a 5-year update, we use the latest and greatest consensus forecast information at that time. But maybe Program Manager Kim Rigdon has turned on her screen so she could speak to that in terms of the amendment to the regional water management plan.
Thank you, Director Smith. Kim Rigdon for the record. So that's a great question. What we would do, we don't typically update the regional water management plan unless there was a concern that available water resources were being significantly impacted by the consensus forecast. We do an evaluation on what that population forecast looks like. do sustainable water resources, are they available to meet that forecast and the water demand? And if there was a significant concern, then of course we would take a look at it and probably do an update, but we haven't encountered that yet.
Okay. And Madam Chair, one more question, and then I'll.
Certainly.
So how would the county go about augmenting supply if there was growth projected beyond, or excuse me, growth beyond what was projected?
How would I'm sorry, was the question, how would the county address a situation where the supply exceeded, or the supply wasn't enough for the demand if that were to occur? Then we would have to revisit our current practices. I mean, it would be a decision that the Northern Nevada Water Planning Commission would have to coordinate and look at what those demand needs are and look at their facility plans and come together with regional planning and come up with a solution. It's not something that I can say what their options. I don't know what their alternatives would be at this point. They would have to explore all the different alternatives that they have in place and see if they need to move projects further. Do we need to revisit the consensus forecast? What are the different options that we have to look at to look at that planning moving forward?
Okay. And I did, just for the record, I did try and pull up the RWMP, the 2021-2040, and I think it might just be my computer. I'm not sure, but it's every time I click on the link, it just says that the website or that site's not available. So I was not able to do the comparison and kind of do a thorough review, but I do appreciate your response, and that was all your answers were super helpful. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Any other questions from commissioners? The motion is on our screen and in our packet. Commissioner West.
Yes, I'm prepared to make a motion. I move to find the 2021-2040 Regional Water Management Plan in conformance with the 2019 Truckee Meadows Regional Plan based on the finding listed in the staff report.
Madam Chair, Commissioner Donchik, I'll second that motion.
Thank you. Moved by Commissioner West and seconded by Commissioner Donchik. Is there any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries unanimously. Thank you. We're now on to 6B.
Thank you, Madam Chair. 6B is a public hearing item. It's a regional plan conformance review for an amendment to the Washoe County Master Plan, and we have Shawnee Sousa, regional planner, to take us through this item.
Okay, is this on? Yeah, I think so. Shawnee Sousa, Team RPA for the record. As Director Smith said, I'll be taking you through a conformance review for the Washoe County Master Plan Amendment for the Larson Family Trust. So here's just an overview for you. This is for a Washoe County Master Plan Amendment, as I said, for a master plan land use change on 2.76 acres from suburban residential to commercial. On the right, you can see the regional form map, and then up to the left towards the corner of the area, you can see the subject site highlighted in orange. And just to orient you a little better, if you go up north on 395 and then you take the Lemon Drive exit, it's close to the intersection of Buck Drive and Lemon Drive. Then for our staff determination, regional planning staff does recommend that the MPA conforms with the regional plan. So here's the review criteria, which you all are familiar with. Policy RC9 of the 2019 Truckee Meadows Regional Plan identifies the 5 factors that the RPC must consider when evaluating conformance, and I'll briefly take you through each of these elements. So for population growth, this request includes no increase in residential density and will not change projected housing capacities. So here we're going to talk about regional form a bit. To your right, you can see the neighborhood map. And as you can see, the subject site is highlighted in orange, and that gray coloring indicates that it's in Tier 3 lands. So in Tier 3, to support existing neighborhoods, up to 3 acres of non-residential master plan land use per amendment request may be allowed in instances that will not allow for the expansion of non-residential acres, resulting in more than 10 contiguous acres per project area. This is per policy RF3, and I'll get into that a little bit more in the next slide. So here are the proposed land uses. On the left, you can see that little project area, the triangle, is our suburban residential. That's light pink. And then as you go to the right, you see that it will change to commercial, which is that dark pink area. And it goes from 7.06 acres to 9.82 acres. So as I said, we'll get a little bit more into that policy RF3. The proposal adheres to that policy with only 2.76 acres of commercial land use being requested. So that's less than that 3 acreage requirement. And this results in under the 10 contiguous acres of commercial land use. TMRPA does track this and the exceptions, and this will bring the total project area, as I said, to 9.82. This means that the area is essentially maxed out for commercial land use in Tier 3. And any future commercial land in this area above those 10 contiguous acres threshold will require regional plan amendment from Tier 3 to Tier 2. Moving on to public facilities, this will be provided by Tumwa and the property, which is currently on septic, and will transition to municipal sewer. This will sewer to Reno Stead Water Reclamation Facility, which is currently undergoing an expansion from 2 to 4 MGD. And this is going to be completed in February of 2023, and this will give capacity for this project. For natural resources, we identified no impacts for the subject site, and as you can see, once again, it's highlighted in orange, and there's currently a dwelling unit on it. And finally, for regional coordination, we found no applicable policies for this component other than the overarching RC9 policy. The proposed motion is on the screen overhead or on page 24 of your packet. Thanks.
This is a public hearing item. Do we have any public comment?
We have none.
I'll close the public comment and bring it back to the commissioners for questions. Any questions of staff? And I believe we have county staff on, yeah. Seeing none, any people online, any questions? Commissioner Gower, you look like you're going to ask a question.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I was just wanting to make sure that I'm 100% clear on the 10 acre threshold for the need for a change in the tiers. So we're under the 10 acre threshold with these contiguous parcels, but if something around it came in and resulted in an increase over the 10 acres, then it would have to change from Tier 3 to Tier 2. Is that, am I understanding that correctly?
Yes, that's right.
Okay, thank you.
No problem.
Madam Chair, I do have one question.
Commissioner Villanova, thank you.
It's for clarity. So for the natural resources portion, it says the parcel is currently developed with a single family dwelling and accessory buildings. I did visit the site and I did notice that there's some steep, and I know we're not addressing that at this level. This is just an amendment. But I did notice some steep hills and, potentially there would be some cut and fills if this land were developed. In order to impact natural resources, for it to trigger, where natural resource impacts were identified, what would be an example of that? And why would that not apply in this case?
Sure. So for this area, if the development constraints area, if the slopes were steeper than 30%, that's when we would take a closer look and see if we could address that. We also do talk with jurisdictions usually, and if there is 15 to 30%, we talk about, okay, is this viable and possible? So unless it crosses that 30%, we usually don't have as much of a concern with our natural resources section.
And do you happen to know what the grading is here?
I do not know specifically, but county staff may.
Okay, and I am getting a little ahead of myself. I get it. I understand that this is not what's under review, but I was just curious. Thank you.
Sure. Does Chris want to?
Does county staff want to address that question? When the Washoe County Planning Commission reviewed this, this parcel is it's actually very flat.
Fairly flat.
Yeah, there's, but we do have Chris on here now. Thank you.
Yes, Chris Bronzik, Washoe County Planning. So when this was reviewed, it is a relatively flat area. There is portions to the north and northeast end, which appear to be natural drainage areas, which have that 30% slopes, but those are in these drainage channels. They wouldn't impact most development that comes at this property.
That's helpful. Thank you.
Any other questions? Okay. The motion is on the screen or in your packet.
Madam Chair, I'm ready to make a motion.
Thank you, Commissioner Gower.
Thank you. I move to find the Larson Master Plan Amendment to Washoe County Master Plan in conformance with the 2019 Regional Plan based upon the findings listed in the staff report, and I can make all of those findings.
Thank you. Is there a second?
Commissioner Villanueva, I'll second.
Thank you. It has been moved and seconded to approve. All those, any discussion?
Madam Chair.
Commissioner Carey.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I appreciate the additional explanation about the 10 acres, contiguous acres. I concur with staff's recommendation on this one. I think, and given the site's proximity to Buck Drive and Lemon Drive, commercial land use does make more sense from a regional form and pattern perspective. And I think also along those same lines, I think commercial is much needed in this area of the region. We've heard over the years residents have a desire for more commercial land uses, and I think there's a strong case for more employment generating uses. So I think this requested land use change falls along those goals of our regional plan. So I will be supporting the motion. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you. And just for also to add to that, Commissioner Carey, the parcels that are in front of this proposal are also designated commercial. So that is not reflected on here, but if you drive down Buck Drive, it's essentially
It's all commercial around it.
Yeah. Any other comments?
Madam Chair, if I could, to that point, just
Yes.
A note to staff, Shoni, it would be really helpful if that map that you showed during the presentation was included in the staff report. That was a really illustrative visual for that 10-acre concept.
Yes. Mhm.
Sure, absolutely.
I think Jeremy Smith, the record, just to address that. It's our goal actually to include that land use change map henceforth in every single one of these MPAs that come forward. And I think it was just an oversight that we didn't have it in there to begin with. And we thought we better bring it today to the meeting. So you can expect to have that. I mean, we think it's incredibly illustrative too, and we should have that. So that's henceforth.
Yes, thank you.
Okay. We have a motion on the floor. Any other comments from commissioners? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries unanimously. Thank you. Henceforth. Item 7 is report number, item A, members and directors report. Any members reports? Director?
Sure. Thank you very much. Jeremy Smith again for the record. Super quick report. I just want to say that the RPC's version of the PRS, the Projects of Regional Significance Review Subcommittee, met yesterday. We went over the recommendations of the governing board, and we have marching orders, and we're working to update the guidelines resolution and bring that back at a future date to this body, probably after one more meeting of the subcommittee to make sure we got it right. And then the idea being we'll bring it back here, make sure everyone is happy with the changes on this board, take it back to the RPGB for a review as well to make sure that it's capturing those recommendations, and then ultimately bring it back to the RPC for adoption. So that is well on its way. And then the only other announcement I have is that we're not going to be utilizing the sort of reserve early January date because the timeframes worked out well. We have that just in case we have a case that needs to meet a timeframe. So we will have our next meeting on January 26th in this room. And with that, I would like to say thank you very much for a fantastic year of 2022 and happy holidays.
Thank you. Item B, legal counsel report.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Jessica Prenti for the record. I have nothing to report and wish everyone the happiest of holidays and safe travels to anyone who are flying or getting on the road.
Okay, thank you. Item 8, request for future agenda items from commissioners. Okay. Item 9, public comment, our last public comment period for 2022.
Well, the people out there waiting to jump at the bit for public comment, we still have none.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Item 10, written correspondence.
No, we have none.
Okay. We are adjourned.